A very good evening. Thank you for choosing KBC Channel 1 once again to let you know what has been happening in Kenya and around the world on this day of June, the year 2022. We got a lot that we have lined up for you.
And indeed, it appears like in the coming days, so many people will have to produce evidence of where they studied. Johnson Sakaja is the latest casualty. The Commission for University Education has revoked his degree certificate, which puts his bid for Nairobi governor obviously in danger. We have details lined up for you tonight.
All right, but first, let's begin with our top stories.
Senator Johnson Sakaja's woes deepen as the Commission for University Education revokes his degree certificate. Taming hate speech. Kenya launches action plan to counter vice. And Azimio and Kenya Kwanza Kambani and Kisii electorate with pre-election promises.
All right, once again, welcome to the broadcast. My name is Serfine Achieng, and on the sign language interpretation is Byron Abuli.
And my name is John Jacob Kioria. Serfine Nairobi is still following up on a petition filed against Johnson Sakaja. At least 3 charges filed against him have been dismissed so far. There's one more that is waiting, and that is on his degree certificate. As it is right now, is that the document earlier by the Commission on University Education has not been admitted in that case because the case is before the independent, or rather IEBC Disputes Resolution Tribunal. But obviously it appears like by the end of the night today, we'll have known the fate of that case.
Yeah, indeed. And of course, just an update from Serfine is that the letter from the Commission of University Education, according to what she says, will not be used in these particular proceedings. That's part of, some of the developments of this particular case, but of course we're yet to get more about this particular case and to see whether Johnson Sakaja is going to be lucky to proceed with his ambition to become Nairobi's next governor or not. But it's a story we are working on for you. We'll be giving you. All right, so let's begin with that story, by the way. It is a relief for Nairobi County Senator Johnson Sakaja after the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission Dispute Resolution Committee expunged a letter from the Commission of University Education.
The letter stating that the senator's degree from Tim University in Uganda is not recognized will now not be used in the proceedings before the tribunal.
This affidavit is critical to the determination of this matter. Chair, honorable members, unless we are saying that we are engaging in a casual exercise, but my understanding, and which is my humble submission, is that we are seeking to get to the bottom of the issue before us.
It has nothing to do with the proceedings herein. We are not in any way seeking to have these proceedings stayed or reviewed by the High Court. Commission for University Education is not a part in these proceedings.
It is the order of this committee that the affidavits dated 12th and 15th of June 2022 be and are hereby expunged from the record of the committee.
And obviously why that letter by CUE will not be admitted in this particular matter is because Johnson Sakaja has already filed a judicial review against that letter at the High Court. And that is why probably the disputes resolution tribunal will not be admitting the letter.
But looking at going by what is going on, looks like you need to really go and look for that photo you took on your graduation day. You never know just when you may need it. But of course, he must be such a happy person tonight.
Absolutely.
Following that particular verdict.
Let's take this forward. President Uhuru Kenyatta and his Zambian counterpart Hakainde Hichilema are set to hold bilateral talks for 2 days with the aim of enhancing relations between the two countries.
President Hakainde Hichilema arrived in the country Wednesday and was accorded a state reception ceremony, including a guard of honor mounted by Kenya Defence Forces and a 21-gun salute. This is his official visit to Kenya
after he got to power in August of 2021.
We see Zambia as a strategic and a vital trading partner, but also an investment partner for Kenya in several areas. Trade and investment will remain one of the strongest pillars of our bilateral relations, and I believe it is imperative that we commit to putting in place mechanisms that will enhance the ease of trading, that will promote investment between our two countries, and that will tap on the existing potential that exists in our respective countries for the mutual benefit of our two peoples.
Kenya and Zambia, as you have said, come a long way in terms of our relationship as countries. I believe our founding fathers got to know each other even before independence and worked together to liberate our both countries and other countries on the continent. So it's a long relationship.
And we apologize, the story erroneously captures that they're set to hold bilateral talks. Indeed, they did hold those bilateral talks earlier today. Kenya is the first nation globally to unveil an action plan against hate speech. Speaking during the launch, Chief Justice Martha Koome said 21 cases related to hate speech were reported in the month of May this year. Speaking at the event, the National Cohesion and Integration Commission NCSU Chairperson Reverend Samuel Kobia cautioned politicians and the citizens against use of abusive and discriminative or inflammatory remarks. He said such utterances will attract penalties.
In an effort aimed at curbing the spread of hate speech, the government has unveiled an action plan which makes Kenya the first nation in the world to launch such an initiative. The plan will see over 50 cohesion monitors deployed across counties to coordinate data collection and research on ways of combating hate speech in the country.
Avoid actions that will bring you into conflict with the law through hate speech, because it is not a joyous occasion to see somebody being prosecuted. We want people to be working to develop this nation, but not to spend time going in and out of court to answer to charges, especially on hate speech.
Chief Justice Martha Koome said that special courts have been set up to hear and determine cases of hate speech, with 21 cases reported in May this year. The CJ, while sending a stern warning to politicians to refrain from making inciting remarks that might lead to violence, urged government agencies and the private sector to collaborate in the fight against the vice.
I therefore implore also our political actors to put national interest above self-interest. Do not ethnically polarize Kenyans.
Through the action plan, NCIC will also develop workplace policies against perpetration and perpetuation of hate speech and empower legal frameworks to combat the vice.
This early warning information will be supplemented by reports from community perception surveys that will be conducted by Amnesty International and availed to Uguyano
As Kenya becomes the first nation in the world to unveil action plan against hate speech, politicians and citizens have been urged to shun making of remarks that might be insulting, abusive, or threatening before, during, and after the general election. Reporting for Prime Edition from Nairobi, my name is Frederick Mwoki.
All right, thank you, Mwoki, for that report. Now on to matters politics. Deputy President William Ruto has promised to improve the economy and lower the cost of living if he is elected president in the upcoming polls. Speaking in Kisii County, Ruto said his government will give loans without interest to small businesses to uplift the lives of Kenyans.
The Kenya Kwanza team took its campaigns to Kisii on Wednesday. The brigade, led by Deputy President William Ruto, said their top priority if they form the next government will be lowering the cost of living.
Safari hii tutaweka pesa ya serikali ndio imsaidie mwananchi wa kawaida hapa chini, na hiyo pesa haitakuwa na interest yoyote.
Ruto promising farmers value for their products coupled with low cost of fertilizer and farm inputs.
Ndio mimi nimesema tutaweka pesa ya kutosha kwa kilimo, tupunguze gharama ya mbolea, tupunguze gharama ya mbegu, tuhakikisha kwamba mkulima anapata bei ya sawasawa kwa mazao yake.
Sisi tunasema kupitia kwa serikali ya Kenya Kwanza ni lazima
Raila breathed life into his recently launched manifesto, promising major investments in infrastructure and water projects, as well as economic empowerment.
Unaona hapa magari kutoka Addis Ababa yanapita hapa kuelekea Mombasa na kurudi. Na biashara kubwa sana itakuja hapa kwenu hapa Mtomo. Sawa sawa? Kwa hiyo tutamaliza. Itakuwa nywe. Sasa barabara zingine hapa ndani yote tutatengeneza sawa sawa. Barabara ndio kazi yangu.
Anaelewa zaidi kama mchoraji, kama engineer. Safari moja tulitembea naye, sasa imefika tu kilomita chache kutoka Mwingi. Tukichukua mamlaka, Mungu atusaidie, kutoka Mwingi mpaka Usueni mpaka Maua ishikane na Isiolo. Ndio mtaona tauni zetu zitakuwa zaidi.
Raila leading his allies to marshal support for his 2022 State House bid.
Nataka kuona kama kila Mkenya anacheka. Ndio tutakuwa tumemudu yale madui wetu watatu: ujinga, ugonjwa na umaskini.
Mimi naomba kwa heshima, tarehe 9 kura zote ziende kwa Raila. Mwenyezi Mungu awabariki.
Raila also took the opportunity to endorse former Kitui Governor Dr. Julius Malombe for another stint in the coming general election.
Naona nyinyi hapa mmeamua kwamba mnataka gavana awe Malombe.
Raila revealed his plan to assign Governor Charity Ngilu a docket if he forms the next government. His running mate Martha Karua led similar campaigns in Kerugoya, Kirinyaga County. promising zero tolerance to corruption should they win in the August polls.
Kila mpango kwa serikali inahitaji pesa. Ile uporaji iko Kenya siku ya leo. Ile matumishi baya ya pesa za umma na wizi tupu. Isipokomeshwa, hiyo maneno yote haiwezi endelea.
Meanwhile, a section of ODM legislators in Mombasa County has warned their UDA counterparts against politicizing Mombasa port issues. Led by Mvita Member of Parliament Abdul Somad Sharif Nasser, the leaders insist that Deputy President William Ruto's promise to return port operations to Mombasa is hypocritical.
Kwa hivyo sisi tunawaambia tu ya kwa watu waje wawe matalii kama vile walivyokuwa matalii kama siku zote. Wakimaliza tuachieni mji salama, tuachieni bandari yetu salama bila utapeli.
Now, security agencies in Busia County will beef up security on the Kenya-Uganda border to verify Kenyan voters living in Uganda who will cross over to cast their ballot in the August general election. Elsewhere, Bomet Governor Hilary Barchok has decried the increased fuel prices, saying that it will raise the cost of living.
Speaking during a stakeholders meeting, Busia County Commissioner Ahmed Omar revealed they will work closely with the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission to confirm the Kenyan voters living in Uganda.
We wouldn't want to have these people brought in a lorry by a politician or something like that, because we have lost that deal with that. What we are saying is that if I am a Kenyan, I'm living, my family is in Kenya, I have a shop across in Busia, what will stop me from coming to vote here if the time to vote comes?
Omar also warned politicians against ferrying voters from the neighboring country. Elsewhere, Bomet Governor Hilary Barchok took his campaigns to Kaptembo in Konoin sub-county, where he decried the increased fuel prices, saying it will raise inflation.
Vitu ambayo tunanunua kwa duka from industries, kwa sababu mambo ya mafuta imeenda juu, na hiyo karama itaangushwa kwa the common man. Wewe ndio utalibia hiyo karama.
Elsewhere, Machakos Deputy County Commissioner David Rotich has cautioned Kenyans to be on the lookout for fake money that could be in circulation by politicians eyeing various seats during this campaign period.
So we are asking the members of the public to be on the lookout, and should they detect any fake money, they alert our law enforcement agencies.
We want to state clearly.
And a section of former councillors from Nairobi County has come out to defend Senator Johnston Sakaja, saying his degree saga has been politicized.
Honorable Sakaja is a well-renowned public servant, having served in the nation in various capacities, including the Senator of Nairobi and also as the nominated member of Parliament representing the youth.
Gishoki Washira, Prime Edition.
All right, on that political note, we want to take a short break on Prime Edition tonight, but we still got a lot that is lined up ahead for you.
Absolutely good business with Caro Janga. And of course, later, you also have Sports. Don't go too far. We're coming back.
Do you have a news story to share with KBC? Get in touch swiftly on email news@kbc.co.ke or call 0723 892 654 or 0734 780 124.
And welcome back. You're watching Prime Edition. Medical personnel are asking the government to channel more resources to primary healthcare, they say is critical in preventing the spread of diseases. Speaking in Nairobi, the team comprising medical doctors said primary healthcare is critical in averting pandemics. Ruth Wamboi has the details.
A clarion call has been made to the government to focus on technology in dealing with future health crises. Speaking during a workshop in Nairobi, doctors called for concerted efforts, saying the COVID-19 pandemic has drawn lessons for countries to invest more in research.
And some of the things that we encourage them to consider when formulating the policies that deal with pandemics in this country or health issues in general is one of them is strengthening community resilience against the effects of epidemics and pandemics through capacity building.
With COVID-19 disease having originated in Wuhan, China, China's zero-COVID strategy was catalyzed by homegrown solutions in arresting the pandemic.
We're more interested in homegrown solution, and in fact, in terms of importing anything from the West or from other Asian countries, it could be only to do with scientific research or technology or sharing our experiences, and particularly the technology transfer, because we cannot be reduced on a country where we only consume technology developed from other key, other parts of the world.
Look at statistics in the year 2020, we see that 31 out of 1,000 women in Kenya die because of preventive public health care issues, which could have been dealt with through the policies that.
At the same time, healthcare specialists argue this will ease the strain on healthcare systems for better outcomes in terms of deaths, hospitalization, and the economy.
Advise that we put a lot of focus on policies that strengthen our preventive policy mechanisms for preventing pandemics and indeed other diseases of public health concern.
The development comes as 467 people tested positive for COVID-19 disease from a sample size of 3,728 tested.
Now let's move this forward. The government has been asked to liberalize the Kenyan space as part of its economic development pillar. Stakeholders in the ongoing Space Expo in Nairobi said the sector is yet to be fully utilized owing to the government security concerns. Ministry of Defense Chief Administrative Secretary Peter Odoyo, however, said the government is willing to let off some of the space for investment, especially by the private sector. Beatrice Gatonyeng-Etich with details of that story.
Different stakeholders converged at the Sarit Center in Nairobi for this year's Space Expo and Conference.
Such data is analyzed, we'll be able to.
The forum focusing on the development of the country's space economy and utilization of space science and technologies, among others. The three-day conference brought together policymakers, investors, and representatives of space agencies and international organizations. Stakeholders urged the Kenya Space Agency to let free of some of its space for private investment.
Fedha inakuja baadaye, lakini kitu ya muhimu sana ni ile akili na ujasiri wa wanasayansi wetu. Na nimeona hapa vijana wetu ambao wako kwa university tayari wameanza kujenga, kuanza kutengeneza vile vifaa ambayo vinaleta pamoja, tuwe satellite kama hii taifa moja ambayo itaenda juu, anga ya juu, na baadaye ndio itakuwa natuletea habari kila siku.
Speakers at the forum underscored the importance of using the space technology, especially in the agricultural sector, to provide early warning on disasters such as on pest infestation.
So all this technology will help us in terms of controlling the air, controlling the environment, and managing the traffic in Nairobi, which is a menace at the moment.
Tuta launch satellite yetu ya kwanza, Taifa 1, ambayo itakuwa natuletea habari direct kutoka angani, ili tujue kazi yetu, agriculture yetu inaendelea namna gani, misitu yetu inaendelea namna gani, hata upande wa security.
Ministry of Defence Chief Administrative Secretary Peter Odoyo, who spoke on behalf of Cabinet Secretary Eugene Wamalwa, said there were still opportunities open for investment in the Kenyan space.
65 out of 169 SDG targets, approximately 40% can benefit directly from the use of geolocation and Earth observation satellites. This means that Kenya can make significant progress in realization of SDGs if we leverage space technology and applications and make deliberate, appropriate investment in these satellites.
Kenya Space Authority has partnered with space agencies from Egypt, Ghana, Nigeria, Sudan and Uganda to develop a 6U Earth observation satellite through the African Satellite Initiative.
Kenya gladly welcomes foreign investment in development of both horizontal and vertical infrastructure, including commercial launch facility to take advantage of geographical position along the equator, which leads to fuel cost savings for equatorial rocket launches.
Beatrice Gatonyang-Etich, Prime Edition.
Now, a European Union representative has to travel to Kenya to weigh up possible aid for a village near the Somalia border attacked by terrorists. But after a fatal accident triggered by her presence, she realizes too late the effects of her appearance with an armored convoy. Will she manage to accomplish her mission? Here now is a review of the film Adisa in our weekly segment, Cinemas and Theatre.
Cinemas and Theatre. Brought to you by the Kenya Film Commission. Film Kenya, Capture Africa.
The European Union Special Representative to the Horn of Africa, Ms. Schneider.
The film Adisa follows Suzanne, a chief diplomat and representative of the European Union, who visits a remote village on the Somalia border that was a target of terror attack.
Al-Shabaab is a very well-paying employer, and that is why your visit today is so important.
While the bereaved put all hope in her, the date and promises made to Suzanne appear just a routine. But after a fatal accident caused by her presence, she's forced to leave her comfort zone and fight against the established patterns of behavior in Europe.
Adisa is a human interest story. It's based on actual events that happened. These events happened in Cameroon in 2016 with the then American ambassador to the UN. Her convoy was in an accident and it hit a child, an African child in Cameroon, and the child died. And Adisa tells this story from that perspective. It is actually a tragedy. It's not a comedy. It's something that's supposed, at the end of it, you're supposed to be like, left maybe with tears in your eyes.
Get back in the car! Filmed in the breathtaking cities and countryside of Kenya, Adisa by Film Crew in Africa was filmed and directed by Simon Danda and features Victoria Meyer, who plays Suzanne, Jacqueline Wanjiku, who plays Zola, Gots Otto, who plays Commander, and Robert Agengo, who plays father to Adisa, among others.
You've killed my son!
In Kenya, we did a very vigorous audition. We did a casting call to many, and we narrowed it down to a couple of ladies, especially the one who's playing the local role by a lady called Jackie Kaboy. We narrowed the filming days to about 6 days, and on the 7th day we did what we call GVs.
Boss, nini imefanyika? The film has bagged various awards, including the Silver Student Academy Award in 2021.
This has been well received worldwide, or the many countries that Adisa has been able to do a tour. We've done a couple of film festivals, both locally and in abroad, and we are fortunate enough to have about 10 awards.
Sir, and action.
I believe we are at the right space, and we are in the right time, whereby you can see a lot of local good productions are happening. Adisa being one of them. I think it's a high time that our audience continue appreciating what we are churning out, and whenever we have films and we call upon our local audience to come to the theaters and watch, they should be able to believe in us that we are bringing out the best.
Imagine the pain of losing a child, the grief of a family. What can possibly heal the pain?
Adisa being a short film, we've been arranging a series of screenings. So what I can say to the people who are interested and to our followers to check out this information on our IG page. Our handle is @making_of_Adisa. We'll be able to be releasing new dates on when and where you can catch Adisa.
Jacqueline Masharia for Cinemas and the Theatre.
Cinemas and Theatre. Brought to you by the Kenya Film Commission. Film Kenya, Capture Africa.
Hujui kama kile chumba ni changu mimi na mume wangu?
Asa ukatiwe simu wewe ni nani? Wewe ni rais. I don't want to talk to you, Kate. That's why.
Kwa kifupi, Maya anifanya kama ulimi mimi nazungukwa na meno. Haya.
Hivi ni mtabeni. Unapoelezea masaibu ama vitisho vya Kate, wadhani unisaidie.
Sasa wewe lala naye. Ukitaka mtie hata kwa pani. Lakini kwenye kampuni dada, unitoe.
Lovely Wednesday. Let's now focus on business news tonight. Now, the Engineers Body of Kenya has accelerated the registration of professional engineers to clear the backlog of graduate engineers waiting to be certified. EBK says it plans to increase the number of registered professionals engineers in Kenya from the current 3,000 to 10,000 in the next 5 years. The board says it has already launched the engineers stamp to help in the identification and verification of engineering documents and work supervised by a professional engineer.
Kenya is facing a major shortage of professional engineers, with less than 3,000 professional engineers serving a population of more than 50 million people. The engineer per capita ratio in Kenya currently stands at 1:16,000, far exceeding UNESCO's recommendation of 1:250. The law requires graduate engineers to have a 3-year relevant experience to qualify as certified engineers.
We acknowledge the work done by the agencies already. We know the agencies are in partnership with a number of universities, and this collaborative framework will bring this together so that those resources can be put into use for better road improvement, maintenance, and redesign and construction.
The Engineers Board of Kenya says it has initiated a graduate engineers internship program and formulated an academic-based graduate engineering platform to help graduate engineers and lecturers acquire relevant professional trainings.
Out of this agency model, the board has registered first 13 engineers from Isuzu in one sitting. We therefore encourage other institutions to partner with the board to develop structured training for their graduate engineers.
Principal Secretary State Department for Infrastructure Professor Paul Maringa has urged EBK to crack the whip on quacks who have been blamed for the rising number of buildings that have collapsed in the country.
90% of the buildings that are collapsing are actually not designed by engineers. They're designed by what we call halfway engineers, who in the past have been referred to as quacks. We've accepted that is the terminology we're not going to use, because those designers, even though they're not fully trained, are actually Kenyan technicians and below who desire to be engineers. And in our discussions today, we've agreed universities and other training institutions of higher learning are going to open themselves up to upgrade those people, so they stop giving us substandard services and advice.
EBK says it has already rolled out the engineer's stamp to help in the identification and verification of engineering documents and work supervised by a professional engineer. The PS spoke during the ongoing Engineering Partnerships Convention in Mombasa that brings together more than 1,500 engineers. Juni Karisambele from Mombasa County.
Moving on, importers have 5 months to register their intellectual rights on the newly launched Anti-Counterfeit Authority IP recordation system. The IPR database will capture trademarks, copyrights, trade names, as well as other protected intellectual property rights for all goods to be imported into the country. The move aimed at curbing the inflow of counterfeit products into the country.
According to Kenya's anti-counterfeit agency, illicit trade denies the taxman up to 153.1 billion shillings annually, of which counterfeiting activities alone rob the taxman between 85 billion and 100 billion shillings. To curb this, the Anti-Counterfeit Authority has established an online database where importers are supposed to register their products.
This technology will be a game changer in the war against counterfeits, which will involve creation of intellectual property rights database that will be used by officers at border points so that they are easily able to flag counterfeits before entering into the market.
The intellectual property rights recordation refers to the process of collecting from IPR owners information regarding their registered intellectual rights like trademarks, copyrights, trade names, or any other protected intellectual property right, irrespective of their place of registration, for all goods to be imported into Kenya.
Counterfeited products have serious consequences, would have serious consequences for this country. And therefore, look at it from the economic point of view, look at it from the security point of view, look at it from the social point of view, look at it across. And then you will see, even culturally, you see that we have an elephant in the house, an elephant that we must eliminate, an elephant that we must remove.
Under the Anti-Counterfeit Act, it is an offence to import goods that have not been recorded with ACA. Speaking during the World Counterfeit Day, Deputy Head of Public Service and Coordinator of the Multi-Agency Team Tackling Illicit Trade, Wanyama Musiambo, urged importers to declare their intellectual property rights for goods being imported into Kenya to deter the importation of counterfeit goods. Importers have 5 months till January 2023 to register their intellectual rights on the newly launched Anti-Counterfeit Authority IP recordation system, after which IPR agents shall transact.
Anything that is raw materials are not covered under the IPR recordation regulations.
Raw materials, other industrial inputs and used goods shall be exempted from the payment process, as well as transit and transshipment goods. An importer shall, however, be required to submit information supporting manufacturing, assembly or value addition in the case of raw materials and other industrial inputs. Regina Manyara reporting for Prime Edition.
The government plans to start gradually removing the fuel subsidy, which will further push up the prices of petroleum products and the cost of living. National Treasury Cabinet Secretary Kioria says the subsidy has become inefficient in softening commodity prices, despite the government spending 100 billion shillings on it in the last 2 financial years.
The rising cost of fuel and an increase in basic commodities and services has made lives of Kenyans unbearable as they struggle to make ends meet. On Tuesday, fuel prices hit a new high despite the government sinking in billions of shillings to subsidize prices. In a statement, National Treasury Cabinet Secretary Kioria says the fuel subsidy program might not be sufficient in the near future. He says the subsidy has become inefficient in softening the prices, adding that there will be gradual adjustment in domestic fuel prices in order to progressively eliminate the fuel subsidy from the next financial year, starting July. The Energy and Petroleum Regulatory Authority, EPRA, adjusted the pump prices upward by 9 shillings per litre of fuel, sparking an outcry from members of the public and senators.
Kenyans are expecting us to come here and fight for them to lower their cost of living. If the prices of petroleum products are going up on a daily basis, Madam Speaker, and our salaries are not going up, and the salaries of the Mamamboga are not going up, how else are we going to expect to live in a good country?
What Kenyans are seeing in terms of prices going up of fuel, it looks like the problem is the Ministry of Energy. It looks like the problem with the Ministry of National Oil Corporation, Madam Speaker, and I hope the necessary agencies and institutions are working so that no one can benefit at the pain of Kenyans, Madam Speaker.
We rely on fuel for very many issues, and there's need to really address these issues so that we bring down the cost of living, because if fuel goes high, it means that when it comes to transport, it will go high. Everything else will go high.
Madam Speaker, that old lady in the slum, that old lady in the village cannot even afford kerosene, and half of the Kenyan population depend on kerosene.
Without the subsidy, a litre of super petrol would have increased by 25 shillings, diesel by 48 shillings, while kerosene would have gone up by 42 shillings. But when you compare the fuel prices with countries such as Uganda, South Africa, Zambia and Rwanda, the cost of fuel in Kenya is significantly lower. Globally, fuel is most expensive in Hong Kong, followed by Netherlands and Norway. Fuel is cheapest in countries like Venezuela, Libya, Iran, Syria, Algeria and Angola, mainly due to heavy government subsidies.
Waste management has been a major challenge in Kenya's urban areas, with Nairobi churning out an estimated 2,400 tons of solid waste daily. The government is now looking to set up 6 waste treatment plants in the city to solve the problem. The plants to be set up by Zurich-based firm Hitachi Zosen Nova in partnership with the Ministry of Environment will convert recyclable and non-recyclable waste into heat and electricity.
Poor waste management, coupled with rising urban pressure, have heightened the risks of environmental degradation in Nairobi. Of the waste generated by the city, only 45% is recycled, reused, or transformed into a form which can yield an economic or ecological benefit, a far cry from the 80% target set by the National Environment Management Authority. Zurich-based firm Hitachi Zosen Innova, in partnership with the Ministry of Environment, are setting up 6 waste treatment plants in the city. The plants will see 1 ton of waste converted into 700 kilowatts of electricity that can supply heat and energy for up to 200 households.
This is, in our perspective, is clearly unsustainable, and that's the reason why we are committed to provide energy from waste solutions.
Nairobi Metropolitan Services Water and Environment Director Maureen Jerry noted that the biggest challenge the country faced was waste disposal that could now be averted through the ongoing construction of material recovery sites set to be completed by November this year.
We thought through, as part of that sustainable action plan, what other actions can we be able to come up with to divert as much of the waste that is ending up at the final disposal site and have a lot of it either being recovered through whatever processes, whether it is through recycling, whether it is through reuse, and or whether it's through energy recovery. So two components came up, and one of the components was on coming up with material recovery facilities, which are more or less like waste transfer stations.
Experts in local waste management called for proper legislative frameworks that will open up technical solutions and financing opportunities tailored for Africa's long-term operation of waste-to-energy plants.
There has to be a very proper, detailed framework so that if I come in as an investor, because this is not something that NMS alone can do or any other county government can do, we need that kind of partnership in form of a properly or in form of a framework that takes the interest of everyone on board in terms of waste availability and also the sustainability of the plant.
Did you know that as a country we produce 22,000 tons of waste per day that translate into 8 million tons annually, a menace that has been choking our environment? Solutions to this can now be performed thanks to reforms within the energy sector that will see waste being transformed into electrical energy for our use. Nduta Mukami for Prime Edition.
Thank you, Nduta, for that story. Now, Tatu City will host the country's biggest call center, with its construction set to be completed by the end of next year. The flagship project, which has already broken ground, will employ at least 4,000 people with the aim of providing business processes, outsourcing and customer support for companies within the special economic zone.
Tatu City is Kenya's first special economic zone, hosting a myriad of businesses and companies that enjoy a 10% corporate tax reduction for 10 years and a 15% rate for the subsequent 10 years. Businesses registered within the city also enjoy the additional benefit of zero-rated VATs, import duty exemptions, and low withholding taxes. So far, more than 70 companies are operational within the special zone, with many players in the manufacturing sector setting up establishments there.
The opportunity that we have, the clean title on land, the SEZ status that you have within the city, and also understanding that Tatu City brings global best practice to Kenya.
Generally, from our perspective, we look at where there's youth and where there's a good catchment area in terms of obtaining youth. And we look at a market where our youth at the minute, there's a high unemployment rate. So I think when we look at the overall picture in terms of what we can do and being one of the pillars and vision of 2030 in Kenya, I think that we're really making great strides in terms of alleviating the unemployment issue here.
The call center flagship project being operated by CCI Global promises ultra-modern amenities that would further enhance service provision in the city. The international company notes its entry into the Kenyan market through Tatu City is strategic, with the aim to expand even further into the region through it. Project stakeholders note the employment availed will take keen interest in the youth, taking advantage of the vast pool of IT-trained Kenyans.
So the employment impact is really significant. But this is going to be a new world-class business hub, not just for Kenya, but for Nairobi.
So for us, Kenya has become a really active country of investment for us.
The project will provide business processing outsourcing services, including consumer sales services and digital customer management strategies. Hibak Said for Prime Edition.
Imagine as a proprietor of a small business who has the technology to monitor business activities, borrow capital, and gain financial management skills on the go. This is a story you can find on our website at kbc.co.ke. That's how I wrap up business news tonight. My name is Caroline Jenga. John Jacob Kioria will be bringing you the sports today. Have a good night.
Every day, over 15 million members are transforming Africa. 15 million members, empowered to learn, to create, to grow, to harvest, to lead, to dream. Equity. Karibu member.
Time for sports now. The national women's volleyball team, Malkia Strikers, risk being banned by the International Volleyball Federation if they miss the World Championships slated for September and October this year. Kenya Volleyball Federation has threatened to withdraw the team from the global competition if they fail to get funding from the relevant authorities. The team requires a total of 46 million shillings for tickets, accommodation, and players' allowances.
Malkia Strikers' plans to train in Brazil and Serbia may flop after failing to secure funding from relevant authorities. Head coach Paul Bitok said they require a total of 46 million shillings to cater for their air tickets, accommodation and players' allowances.
Despite of only training, we will be having 4 clubs in Brazil. So you can imagine, we went to Olympics last time. We were about to win Japan and South Korea without any international friendly matches.
He said he delayed announcing the team for the trip due to uncertainty surrounding it. His words were echoed by KVF Vice Chairman Charles Nyaberi, who decried that they may be forced to withdraw the team from the World Championships unless the Ministry of Sports intervenes, a move he said will greatly affect them as they risk being fined and getting a ban from all international events.
The Ministry and the government worked with us to bring us this far to qualify. So we are just pleading. It's just one bit of. And then another thing is that our world body, the FIVB, this is the first time that we're getting this volleyball empowerment project. It's a benefit. It's a handout that we're getting from the world body.
Nyaberi called on the sports CS to intervene and ensure the girls proceed for the training sponsored by the International Volleyball Federation. Malkia Strikers, under the tutelage of 4 Brazilian coaches, have been in non-residential training for the past 3 weeks in preparation for the trip, and it was expected to depart this Saturday for Brazil.
And the second edition of International Sports Conference that has attracted participants from different parts of the country started today here in Nairobi. The theme of the 3-day event is investing in sports, talent development for sustainable elite performance.
Charut, Kinga, Baru, sitting stand up punch, single punches, 1.
The second edition of the International Sports Conference started today here in Nairobi. Speaking during the event, the Kenya Academy of Sports Acting Director of Research, John Okwemba, stressed the need to recruit as many young talents as possible in order to equip them with skills that will help them excel in the sporting activities in the future.
There's a lot of talent at the grassroots, but if they are not discovered, they will go to waste. Therefore, we are trying to make sure that they get the knowledge that there are organizations that can come up and help them develop their talent.
Okwemba also called on schools in the country to embrace sporting activities as a way of nurturing and developing talents among the students.
We are bringing all the stakeholders together in order to synergize, talk through the experiences, talk through the new technology that is helping our young people who are sports people be able to perform excellently at the international level.
The theme of the 3-day event that has attracted participants from across the country is investing in sports talent development for sustainable elite performance. For Prime Edition Sports, I'm Daniel Mwendwa.
Malindi won the inaugural edition of the Coastal Beach Soccer Tournament after beating neighbours Mombasa 3-2 through penalty shootouts at Buntwani Waterfront in Malindi, Kilifi County. The game, which has ended at 2-2 during the regulation time, was organised by Football Kenya Federation FKF Transition Committee in a bid to raise the standards of a game in the coastal region.
The event organizer Rachel Kamweru lauded Cabinet Secretary for Sports Dr. Amina Mohamed for facilitating the tournament held at the Buntwani Waterfront in Malindi. Malindi team captain Hudhaifa Mchula urged local stakeholders of the sports to initiate the league that would provide the players a platform to nurture their talents. In the girls category, Malindi girls won 1-0 on penalties after a 4-4 draw against Progressive FC, who mounted a comeback from 3 goals down to equalize. A total of 10 teams from Kilifi, Lamu, Kwale, Mombasa and Tana River counties took part in the tournament, with winners taking home medals and cash prizes. The Confederation of African Football CAF last year unveiled the headquarters of the African Beach Soccer Union in Nigeria's Federal Capital Territory.
And finally, Costa Rica became the last team to qualify for the 2022 World Cup in Qatar with a 1-0 victory over New Zealand last night at Ahmad bin Ali Stadium. In the Intercontinental Playoff, Costa Rica took a that-minute lead when ex-Arsenal player Joel Campbell shot low into the bottom corner.
Costa Rica have now qualified for the World Cup 6 times, and this will be their 3rd successive appearance. Former Arsenal forward Campbell netted in the 3rd minute in Doha, and New Zealand, who were reduced to 10 men in the second half, could not find an equalizer despite dominating for long periods. Costa Rica will face Germany, Spain and Japan in a tough Group E at the World Cup tournament. The 2022 World Cup begins on 21st of November in Qatar, with Costa Rica playing 2010 champion Spain in their opener on the 23rd of November.
Attention à ce bon appel de Chris Wood, encore.
Time for us to exit and give way to the reggae team. I don't know what's your favorite. Probably we can start with yours.
No, I see what you're doing there, but I am not going to sail on that boat. Not today. But at least one thing that I can tell you, I've traced one of the photos I took with some of my good friends way back in campus, and I'll be doing that just to keep them, just in case. Just in case.
The only problem I have is that mine then, the John Jacob then and today is a whole world of a difference. So I don't know whether it would still look like me, but yeah.
But you never know. Just you never know when you'll need some of these pictures and those class attendance sheets that you signed. But yeah, just keep them. You never know.
Maybe the best thing is to avoid being governor or president.
That's also another way. I didn't think about that.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's how we wrap it up. Thank you so much for creating time to catch a Prime Edition tonight. But as we leave, of course, it's getting better right here on KBC Channel 1. The rave is coming up next. And like we always say, weekend starts early. Right here.
They're on your screen, actually.
Yeah.
You can see them. That's the reggae team ready to, of course, giving you positive vibes. You say positive vibes. Wagwan.
Wagwan.
It's time to go have yourself a fantastic night. My name is John Jacob Kioria.
And my name is Serfine Chengoma. On the sign language interpretation has been Byron Abuli. Have a good night and God bless.